during a time when I was living in my car and homeless. And I remember seeing the book there, and I thought, wow, this book is great. I wish I could afford it.
Yeah, defining it as this kind of tumultuous time in your life, as this chaos, and then having these moments bring you clarity. That's really special.
Being honest sometimes makes you uncomfortable because I feel like you're afraid of what people are going to think.
The will to help others. So
that name, it was passed down from my mom. My
that
mom got
I was
that.
able to just blossom and become the woman that I am right now.
hello, pageant fans. This is Ayce with Contessera Pageantry. We have a very special guest with us today. But before we begin, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that we can continue to bring content like this to pageant lovers across the world. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our reigning Miss Fullerton USA, Shannon Cline. How are you, Shannon?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. We are so happy to have you with us today, and we'd love to get to know you, right? So tell us about yourself and your pageant journey. So what has that been like?
Okay, so my pageant journey started when I was 5 years old, actually.
Wow, young.
I didn't start competing then, but my cousin, she was in a small pageant, and we went to it, and she won. And after that, I just kept bugging my parents, and I lived with my grandparents, and they raised me. So I kept bugging them, and I was like, I really want to do a pageant. And they're just like, no, you know, it's too much money, and it's too, we don't want to get involved in that. And, and I really wanted to do it. And then I remember my grandpa had a friend from work, and his daughter was into pageants also, and she did the Miss Azusa pageant. That's where my hometown.
Azusa, where's Azusa?
It's about 15 miles east of Pasadena.
Okay.
And so she did the Miss Azusa pageant, and I went to that. I was 7 at the time. And from that point on, I was like, okay, this is it. I really need to do a pageant. I need to do a pageant. And I kept bugging them. And I don't even know how it came, but we got a mailer when I was like 11 years old. We got a little invitation to join this. It was a child, it was a pageant that was all the way up to 21, but they had different age groups. So I thought I really wanted to do it, and my grandparents knew that I'd been bugging them since I was 5 to do a pageant, so they finally let me do it.
That's so funny.
And from that point, I was hooked. I mean, for the next 5 years, I went back to that same pageant every year. I was like, this is so much fun. I love it.
Why was that important to you to keep going back to that pageant?
So the first time I went, I wasn't shy. I was never shy when I was growing up. I would actually talk to everyone in the grocery store. Like, my family just was like, you have to keep her next to you, or else she'll go around and talk to the whole store. But I wasn't outgoing. I was afraid of like what people thought of me a lot. Yeah. And so I don't think I made a lot of friends that year, but I noticed that I made a couple. And then I just grew so much because when I went in there, I didn't know what it was like to even get on the stage. But the first year I got lucky, I think, and I made top 20. My first year, and the feeling of making top 20 at your first pageant is unforgettable. It's just something you can't, because you're up there and you're like, there was 100 and some odd, there's like over 130 girls in that pageant. And I was 11 years old. It was my first time. So it meant so much to me. And it was just so much fun too. We did a lot of rehearsals, and which is what we still do now. And I think that's my funnest part, is all the rehearsals and actually getting to know everybody and all the fun events. Like, we had a luncheon before that pageant and stuff. And so we all got to know each other. And I think I kept going. I started when I was 11, and then the second year I actually won the speech contest. So then it was like, it's becoming addicting because every year I seem to progress, because the first year I didn't get even in the top 5 for speech, and the second year I won the speech. So I thought, this is fun. We got to go back and see what else we can do next year. And it took me about 5 years, but I finally got to second place.
Wow.
And that was a lot for me. And but then I got so busy with school, and I kind of went away from it. I just kind of moved on, and I just got involved in high school things, and so I kind of got away from it. And I also went through a time where I was being bullied, and a lot of kids were hard to deal with, you know what I mean? And I just kind of went down like a bad path. I kind of started spiraling into where at 13 I stopped wearing a bathing suit because I was so afraid of what people would say about me. I didn't want to dress out for PE or anything. And that's kind of what stopped me from doing pageants, because I wanted to go and do the Miss USA pageant. Well, it would be Miss Teen USA. I wanted to do that. But because of all the body shaming that I was receiving, I kind of shied away from it. So for 35 years, I didn't wear a bathing suit until last year when I stepped on the Miss California USA stage. For the first time, I wore a bathing suit. And I did it on stage. So I think pageantry all around has been just a guiding force for me, and it's always just brought me back to who I am, and it's helped me grow and get through like the hardest times in my life, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you telling us that journey of not really thinking or caring what anyone thought, you know, when you were, you know, 11, 12 years old, and then coming into, you know, part of your womanhood, right? And then just feeling so awful about who you are because people, you know, say things that they wouldn't ever say as like real adults, right? And now, you know, let's say 35 years later, you've come more into yourself, and through this pageant, you've come more into your being. I think that's something really special, because I know, you know, everyone who was a teenager, which, you know, as adults, we were all teenagers once, but we all experience a time where our light is dimmed, right? Because we're afraid of showing who we are. We're afraid of expressing ourselves. And for you to come from, you know, the pageant world where you were loved because you were able to express yourself, and then to have it dimmed down so hard, and then to come back as who you are, that's really inspiring. That's something that, you know, a lot of us take a lot of time in developing ourselves. And so through this kind of pageant pathway, you've come back into yourself. I can't imagine what that feels like. Can you give us a little bit of like, what was that aha moment for you where it was like, screw it, I want to be on stage again? What was that kind of eureka moment for you?
It actually started in 2015. I remembered my childhood, and I thought it was such a great experience that I had when I was in pageantry, and I had forgotten about it because I'd gone so far away from it. But in 2015, I reached out to one of my old directors from that first pageant that I was in, and I couldn't believe the system was still in existence. We're talking like 30 years later, okay? So I thought, there's no way. And it turns out that she was, and I found the director. She sent me an email and asked me if I wanted to judge the next Miss California pageant for that system. And I was like, of course I would do that. And then when I went, it just brought back all those memories, those good memories, because I felt like pageantry, every time I went to a pageant, that was like my haven, my safe haven away from the real world, because I met the friendliest people there, and I made lifelong friends there, people that I still have on my Facebook today. I mean, I know I'm dating myself, Facebook, but you know, some of them are on Instagram. But a lot of those people, that they were so inspirational to me at that time. It reminded me of that. It reminded me of that when I went back to judge that pageant. And I remembered, I saw myself and all of those little girls going up there for the first time to do their talent. And it just brought so much joy back to my heart. And I was just like, okay, well, I think I'll just get involved on this side of the pageantry. Because then all of a sudden I started to find other pageants, and I started judging at all these. Most of them were teen pageants and junior teen pageants and preteen little girls and stuff. And then I just thought, well, I really enjoy this a lot. And I think it was 2019 that I thought, you know what? I think I really want to do a pageant, because I thought I was past that. I was like, I was 43 years old, right? Okay. When in 2019, when I decided to do that pageant, I was like, am I too old to do a pageant? Should I be doing a pageant at this age? And I didn't even know at the time that there were every pageant that I knew of that I ever wanted to be in, I had aged out of. Yeah. And so I thought, they actually have pageants for older women. And I think I was engaged at the time too. And I was like, they have Mrs. pageants, but I'm not quite a Mrs. yet. So I joined a Ms. pageant. And there had been so much growth, because if you look back at the years in the 80s and the 90s, because that's when I was doing pageants, to now, like the runway, everything's completely different. Like, I was like, what kind of turns are these? Like, these little girls were doing these spins on stage that I had never seen. And I'm like, that's amazing. And these little girls, they'd be 5 years old, and they would have platforms. And I'm like, what's a platform? I had no clue what a platform was, I mean, I didn't know any of that stuff. I literally learned from these like 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds, how to build a platform. And I was so inspired by these little girls that I was like, I got to do this for myself, as an adult now.
Yeah, no, that's, most of the women that we've interviewed, I would say, 20s, late 20s, and they've never stopped doing pageants for the most part. They've kind of grown up in systems and then done them all their lives with the notion that this was a part of their journey, from kind of, their teenage years to their late 20s.
Exactly.
But your perspective is different, right? Because you took a long break in between.
Like 30 years.
Yeah.
I'll be 50 this September. So I represent all of these women that are not your average pageant contestant. I'm not 5'9". I'm not size 0. But I am so grateful that the beauty industry in general has changed and become more inclusive of all sizes, all shapes, all genders at this point. I thank God that that the doors are open now for so many more women to participate. And so the funny thing is that in 2023, I was competing at that other pageant where I competed in 2019. And I decided at that point that I wanted to do their international pageant. Okay, so that was a big step. It was like a whole week in Vegas, and it wasn't something I was like, I haven't been in a pageant since, like, gone on a trip or anything since I was younger. And when I did that, I remember preparing for it. What I did was I watched over 30, I want to say close to 50 Miss USA pageants. In preparation, every day I would say, like, I started preparing, and then, like, I was like, every day I'm going to watch a Miss USA pageant. And then every time I would watch it, I'd be like, I really wish I could compete in that system. I wish I could compete in Miss USA. I wish I could compete in Miss California USA. And in 2019, my niece, I was getting her into pageants because she was going through a really rough time. And I knew that pageants would help her build her self-esteem and stuff like that. So she couldn't go, so I went for her to the orientation for the Miss California Teen USA pageant. And I kind of went in her proxy and like just sitting there going, I want to compete in this pageant. And I just kept doing that. I really feel like I manifested that because literally a year later, they opened the doors for all ages to compete. So at 48 years old, I got on that Miss California USA stage and said, let's do this.
Oh. It's funny how life works, right?
Yeah.
you think all these doors are closed to you, but as you were saying, like beauty standards have changed and they've opened up, to so many other different types of body types, different types of women, different, types of existing.
Right.
And it's wonderful to see how it's transformed. And so I know like this journey that you've been through, right, from when you were a kid till now almost being 50 years old, it sounds to me like it's been very transformative. And from what we know, like advocacies kind of build because, you're in it and you're transforming along with the process and you kind of put who you are into your pageant. And so I want to switch gears a little bit, but I want to know, like, through this journey, through who you are, what advocacy are you sharing with the world as a contestant, in her later years? What does that mean for you?
Okay, so I couldn't think of a better advocacy than self-acceptance through my journey of everything that I've gone through. And I am an LGBTQ plus individual. I am a lesbian and I'm married, actually. Like I said, I am probably like the the representation for so many women, that the married women now, and then the over the age and everything, like everything is I'm basically, I can't think of the word right now. But I'm not I'm not a traditional pageant contestant.
There we go. I think
if
that's
that
the right
makes
word.
sense. So I feel that through the years when I was growing up, when in the 90s, when I was going to high school, we did not have the gay and straight alliance, things like that are now in high schools around the world, or actually, well, I want to say around the U.S. I'm not sure all about the whole world. I think they should be everywhere. But real quick fact, I don't know if you know this, but there are over 60 countries where it's like illegal to be LGBTQ plus.
I know I did not know the direct number, the kind of the scope.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to hear that, so many countries are still not accepting of something that, I think is just, it just is.
Right.
And so tell me more.
So what I was going to say, I'm sorry, I got a little off track there,
No.
but I just read about that not too long ago, and it was shocking to me that, in 2025, it's still illegal, and some countries even have the death penalty for it, and people are thrown in prison for advocating for the LGBTQ plus community. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that when I was growing up, and it wasn't very, there was no visibility, I remember feeling so alone. And I think that's why I went down the wrong path that I went on when I was a teenager. I did also come from a family that was divided. My grandparents raised me because my mother and father could not. And so I had this broken family. I had 5 sisters and 2 brothers, but I grew up an only child. And I felt displaced in the world. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. I was going to a school where, like I said, I was being bullied, and my safe haven was just at the pageants where I felt like I could be myself. But at that time, I didn't even realize that I was like LGBTQ plus. I had no idea. But I discovered when I was 14 that I was. And that's around the time that I started to hide.
Yeah.
I was no longer, there was something about me that I couldn't let other people know or let people in. That's why I think today I'm such an open book, and I just tell everyone everything, because I'm like, I can't be in the closet ever again.
Yeah.
And even the first pageant that I did in 2019, I couldn't fully accept myself yet. And I was afraid of doing that pageant because I didn't know what, I knew that my advocacy was always for the LGBTQ plus community and for self-acceptance, but I just left it at self-acceptance, and just because I thought I don't want to share that part of myself. I wasn't really ready to be vulnerable because I had gotten so much rejection from my family and also from my church. I came out of a church that I was a part of for 12 years. And that was 15. It was a little bit longer than that. When you come from a church where your whole identity is questioned, you hide even more.
Yeah.
So I discovered at 14 that I was a lesbian. I knew my grandparents were not accepting. They came from the era where they were born in 1928, 29. And back then, it was still in the diagnostic manual as a mental illness.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to tell them. And I surely wasn't going to tell my church because when I got into the church, I did find out the first person I met in church was with someone that was undergoing conversion therapy.
Oh, okay.
And that is something that I ended up going through as well, where they actually try to help you change who you are, change your identity and everything about you. And I went through that for about 10 years of my life. Oh. But I never changed. I suppressed and I repressed who I was as a person. And when I went into that pageant in 2019, I remember I had my ring on when I went to the orientation. And I went to the director and I said, I'm a married lesbian, so I'm a little confused whether I should be competing in the Mrs. system or if I should, I don't know what to do because I have a wedding ring and it looks like I'm married, but I'm in the Ms. division. She's like, maybe don't wear your ring. Mm-hmm. And that did something to me because I thought, why am I hiding anything? Why am I hiding that I'm engaged? Why am I hiding who I am? Like, why am I not telling anybody? Why am I holding back this truth of me? And that's why when I went back in 2023 to compete in that same system, but internationally, I decided that I was not going to hide anything and I was going to be fully myself. And even through that, I did get some rejection from some of the religious contestants as well. However, I've learned that at this point in my life, I'm just going to be me. And it took me so long to get my own self-acceptance. And I know that it's not just in that, it's in everything. It's, now I can accept that I'm not as tan as I wish I was, but I can accept that, and I can wear a swimsuit now confidently on the stage, knowing that regardless of what anybody thinks, I can finally love myself and who I am.
First and foremost, thank you for sharing, your journey and these pieces of yourself, because I know it's difficult, right? When, what can I say, right? There's so many parts of ourselves that we want to hide, and especially, being a queer person, right? Facing rejection at nearly every stage of your life, it seems like, right?
Right.
And having the will to say, well, I don't care because I'm me. This is who I am. There's no other way that I can be except this.
Right.
And putting that, center stage in your journey and who you are and your advocacy, I think is phenomenal. It's such an incredible thing to share that, with our audience. I hope our audience, understands how special this is to have an older lesbian competing in the pageant system and being her authentic self, right? This platform is what this is for. We created this at Contessera Pageantry to share stories like yours with the world. And you being so open, we're so grateful. And we're so happy that, you've trusted us with that story. This is, it kind of takes my breath away a little bit. I'm struggling here to kind of talk about it because in many ways, this is going to help so many people, right? That feel alone, that feel they can't maybe compete in these types of systems. And we've always advocated for the fact that, beauty pageants aren't just about beauty, right? They're transformative. They're about more than surface level, oh, I'm a pretty person, right? Yeah. there's beauty inside, and we see that with you, and we see that with your journey. So I wanted to say thank you. That's really special. And I'm so happy that you shared it with us on our platform.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want anybody to feel left out, because that's what I felt for so many years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is so great. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm having a hard time following up right now, but I want to make sure that we move on to our next session. So again, thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next portion. So this is, we're hoping it's a little lighter.
Okay.
But still true to who you are. So this is our yes, no, maybe section.
Okay.
We'll ask about 20 questions. You can only answer yes, no, maybe. And then at the end, we'll choose a couple of questions that we want to hear some extra context from you. So why did you choose yes? Why did you choose maybe? Okay. Or why did you choose no? Why the emphatic no? So you ready?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I want to remind everyone our beautiful Contessera pageantry branding. Okay, all right. Have you ever turned fear into fuel?
Yes.
Do you believe softness and strength can exist in the same person?
Yes.
Would you still show up even if no one was watching?
Yes.
Would you ever join a reality show if given the chance?
Yes.
Do you think confidence can be louder than words?
Yes.
Would you break tradition if it meant making space for others?
Yes.
Would you ever consider traveling to space if given the opportunity?
Maybe.
Maybe. I love that question. I know we've heard it so many times, but that's such a fun question for me. Do you think vulnerability is a form of bravery?
Yes.
Have you ever been told you don't look like a typical queen?
Yes.
Can beauty pageant contestants be both inspirational and controversial?
Yes.
Do you believe your presence changes the room?
Yes.
Have you ever questioned if your voice was enough?
Yes.
Would you compete again knowing the only reward was growth?
Yes.
Do you believe grace is more powerful than charisma?
Maybe.
Should the Miss Universe system start a talent competition?
No.
I want to revisit that. I'm going to make it clear. I want to revisit that.
Okay.
Would you choose honesty even when it's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Have you ever found clarity in chaos?
Yes.
Do you believe in rewriting what beauty means?
Yes.
Would you ever wear a gown that was previously worn by another queen in the same competition?
Yes.
Would you use your platform to speak for those without one?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say that I love these questions, but at the same time, I knew what you were going to say based on your conversation.
Almost everything was yes.
I know. I was like, well, yes, of course she knows she'll show if no one is watching, because you've done that, right? Of course, you think vulnerability is a form, because you've shown us so much vulnerability during this interview. And so it's going to be, I think I still want to hear it though. I think I still want to hear, your explanations for some of these questions. And so let's start with, you said yes here. So have you ever found clarity in chaos? And so I'll give you, a couple seconds to think about it. But, I also want to understand, when we say chaos, what does that mean to you? And then clarity, what does that also mean to you? So finding this clarity in chaos, you said yes. So explain that.
I said yes because I found clarity and my purpose and vision during a time when I was living in my car and homeless. I remember finding the book, The Secret, and I was actually at Barnes & Noble, and it was a place I would go often, and I remember seeing the book there, and I thought, wow, this book is great. I wish I could afford it. Because I was literally living in my car. I I was working too. I was working the whole time that I was like living in my car. But the clarity that I found was when I found that book, it actually opened up my mind to things that I didn't even think of before. Like I never realized that thoughts become things, basically. And I never realized that my mentality before becoming homeless could have brought me to that place, because I was always concerned about money. I was always concerned like about losing my job. I was constantly thinking negatively, and I wasn't thinking positively. So in the middle of all the chaos, living in my car and not knowing where I knew I was going to shower because I got a 24-hour membership, fitness membership. And so I was still working. So I was able to keep my phone and certain things like that. But not having a stable place to call home was chaos for me. You know, I think it would be for anybody. Everything was in the back of my car, but I did have a storage unit, and I actually had it set up kind of like a bedroom I could just go to every once in a while. And in the middle of that, I think I also found something that saved my life, because I was eating really badly. And I found the raw food diet at the time. I'm not currently doing that, but at the time I found that because I didn't have an oven or anything to cook in, so I started to really think about my health, also thinking I can't really get sick because I can't afford to go to the doctor. And I literally started kind of on this holistic path, and which is another part of my story, which it's a whole different part. But I think through that, I was able to, at the same time I was going to the gym, and I discovered yoga. And so I started going to yoga. I started changing my eating habits. And then that kind of led me to that book somehow. And then suddenly I realized that I needed to change my mindset and my mentality. And I needed to have a better attitude and stop being negative. I started to be a little bit more positive. And then things just started coming my way. And I remember sitting on a park bench, and from The Secret, I had read a few chapters, and it's like, I remembered, I think I found it at the library, because even Rhonda Byrne herself will say, if you can't afford my book, go check it out at the library, you know? And so I went, and I somehow got a hold of reading more of the book, and it said to write everything down that I wanted. And then I found out about vision boards, and then I was sitting in the park putting together this vision board, and on there was a relationship. You know, I was single still at the time, you know, and I had, you know, an apartment complex. And right now I'm married, and I'm living in an apartment complex that was on my vision board back then. And on that vision board, it was like, it had a little lake view, and you know, a patio with the lake. And I thought, wow, it'd be great to live there. I put that on my vision board, you know, but I'm like living in my car. And years later, I look back, and so many things that I had put on that vision board are in my life now.
Yeah.
And that was me finding, you know, in the middle of the chaos, that's where I found clarity. Yeah. Because before that, my wheels were spinning, and I didn't know what direction I was going. I was just going to a dead-end job and hating life, and, you know, there was no direction or vision in my life. And then that's how it came to pass that I got that vision.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us. Defining it as this kind of tumultuous time in your life, as this chaos, and then having these moments bring you clarity. That's really special, right?
Yes.
That's really, really special. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Sorry, I know that was probably like a shorter answer I should have done, but...
No, we have fun with it.
Long-winded.
All right. So I love this question too. So would you ever join a reality show given a chance? I think you said maybe.
I did.
Right. So why maybe? And, you know, I think we've asked this, you know, of several times from our...
Actually, I think I said yes.
Did you say yes?
Now that I look back.
Well, let's just say you said yes.
Okay.
Okay. What reality show and why?
So I would like to create my own reality show,
Okay.
to be honest. Because like now that I look back, and even though I said yes, now I want to kind of revert and say maybe, only because I don't like how some reality shows portray people. And so that's the only thing. It would have to be something that was with my character, because I would love to do a pageant, some kind of pageant reality show, but so many of them infuse drama that's not really there, because I have never had anything but a pageant. I've mostly had positive pageant experiences. I've never really had a lot of negativity. I don't like to invite that into my life, and so I wouldn't want to do that in a show. So I would want it to be, I would want to be authentically myself no matter what reality show I joined. But it would definitely be probably a pageant one, or one that has something to do with the LGBTQ plus community.
100%. This is, I think you've been through a lot in your life, and I mean, if there were to be real, I think there would be a lot of material to kind of share with the world. So I think there'd be more than enough material to share your authentic self with the world. Okay. I think this will be our last one, but I like this question as well. So, what can I say? Here we go. So, would you choose honesty even when it's uncomfortable? And you said yes, right? And given your kind of story, there's been a lot of uncomfortable moments, but, explain to us why you would say yes, and, what honesty means to you right now.
Well, I think I've done that right now, to be honest, in this show. But being honest sometimes makes you uncomfortable, because I feel like you're afraid of what people are going to think. And something happens with age. You start to not care so much what people think the older that you get. And I mean, you know what? That's not true. I still care what people think. But I decided that I'm always going to be myself no matter what. And I'm going to be honest about who I am. I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm 50 because I'm competing against mostly 20-year-olds. I'm not going to hide that. I was thinking about it, because I was like, they don't need to know my age. Like, no, they don't need to know. But yeah, I'm turning 50. And I'm proud of that, because that's 50 years of experience. Yeah.
That's the the old adage of like, don't care what people think about you. I always think about that too, right? And I don't think it's possible to not care what other people think. I think it's just ingrained in who we are as social beings, right? Yes. But I through kind of experiences and going through this process, it really is. I care what people think, but I give so much more weight to the people that love and support me, right? That, whoever, like my family, my friends, the people in my life, my partner, I care what they think because they want the best for me.
Exactly.
Right? And if it's just some like random person in the street that says, oh, I don't care, water off a duck's back. It's not a big deal for me. But, that idea that you kind of engaging in your age and living with it in this pageant is really important, right? Because you care what they think, but what they think may not necessarily, play into who you are or how you perform.
It doesn't define you.
Yeah. So that's really special. I think that's really special. Yeah. And, through our conversations, I can definitely tell that, your experiences, your age, your maturity, it really stands out in helping define who you are as a person. So even through this conversation, this is such a great conversation. I'm so invested. I'm like, I don't want to move on. I want to keep asking questions. But, we have to. So
gotcha.
Our next portion is our Q&A portion. And this was from the 2023 Miss Universe pageant. And this was asked of the top 5 contestants. Okay. And so with this portion, we have our producer right here. He will have 30 seconds on the dot once we ask this question. So you'll pick a question. I'll read it out loud. once I'm finished with the question, you have 30 seconds to answer the question.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So good luck. Let's pick a good one.
I've never picked one up. Well, actually, when I did one, I was going to open it. Oops.
Oh, no worries. Okay.
Cheating.
So, this was asked of Camila Avella from Colombia. So, if this was your last day on Earth, how would you live it?
Authentically. I would live my life doing all the things that I love doing. And I would literally just... That's a hard question because you don't want to really put that out into the universe. But I definitely believe that I would live it authentically and give all the love I could.
Yeah. Show it succinct. I know we never want to think about our mortalities,
Right.
right?
That's the one question I never wanted to get.
Well, this is how you know that this is completely random, right?
Right.
We put these questions. Okay. All right. So another question. All right. Thank you. All right.
I have to remember not to try to open it because when I practice, I have to open it myself. So I keep trying to automatically open it.
I always think of it as like a fortune cookie, right? I'm like, okay, I want to open it now.
I know, right?
Okay. All right. So this was asked of Antonia Porcelid from Thailand. She was the first runner-up. If you could speak to a room full of students about online bullying, what would you say?
I would tell them that I've been there. I know what it's like to be in a situation where everyone's coming against you, and I would let them know that no matter what anyone else is saying, they should stay true to themselves and be who they are.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as a victim of bullying, you know how hurtful it can be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well said. All right, so this will be our
I think
final.
I'm keeping it too short at this point.
I mean, better to, keep it short and, what is it? Keep it short and well said, well spoken, and kind of long and running and meandering and not have a point.
That's true.
All right, so our next question. This comes from Morea Wilson from Australia, and she was the second runner-up. How would you use the Miss Universe platform to promote global gender equality?
Oh, this is the best question ever. As an LGBTQ plus individual, I would love to be able to have this opportunity because I know firsthand, as a lesbian, what it's like to be put in a box and just put on a shelf and told that, you can't be yourself. You can't do that. So I really feel like I would, sorry.
No, take your time.
Okay.
It's fine. Continue. No, it's fine. Continue, please. I want to hear this.
Gosh, I should really, I'm so sorry.
No.
I feel that I would, on a global level, I would really want to go into those countries that I said earlier that are not, they're, oh my gosh, I'm really...
Those countries that aren't accepting.
Yes, those
queer
countries
people.
that are actually criminalizing
Yeah.
the LGBTQ plus community. Those are the countries that I want to reach. And I feel like it might be a dangerous job to be Miss Universe if I have to go into those countries. But I really look up to Harvey Milk, and he was one of the first gay politicians, and he was all about opening all those closet doors. And so, and bringing that visibility, because if we don't have visibility and if we're not able to show that, then we can't, we're not going to progress.
Yeah.
So that's what I would want to do, is go into those places that actually are against it and somehow find a way to communicate to those who are in those communities.
Yeah, 100%. I know we went over time, but
Yeah.
I think some questions require a little extra.
Great.
So we won't hold it against you. I think that was a great answer. Very specific too, right? These 60 countries you were talking about that criminalize the
Right.
LGBTQI plus community,
Right.
and really kind of working in those spaces. That's something special, right? That's
Yes.
direct action. That's not just talk. So thank you for sharing with us. Okay, all right. So we'll move on to our final portion of the interview.
Okay.
And so we want to ask you, if you were, so you're part of the Miss Universe system right now. So you would go on to Miss California, Miss USA, and then Miss Universe. If you were to win it all, what would be the first thing you would do as the reigning Miss Universe?
I would get my calendar out and get my bags packed, because if you're Miss Universe, you're getting on the plane the next day and traveling to so many different countries. So the first thing I would do is definitely, get ready, get my bags packed, and get my calendar marked to what I'm doing next, where I'm going next. I'm a planner, so I do like to plan things. But yeah, as the first thing I would do is I would definitely want to, put my platform, Selfacceptance, and for the LGBTQ plus community, put that out there, and just start doing that immediately, going into those countries and
planning that 60 country.
Yes, yes. I think a lot of people are. I'm all about fighting for gay rights and stuff, but I think my main purpose is those who are in the closet.
Yeah.
I want to be a voice for them. I want to be visible for them. I need to be visible as a person that has come from so much, being in the closet and all the shame and everything that comes with that, because there are too many people in these other countries that feel this way, and they have no representation where they're at. So even if they get to see a social media post or anything that says, you're loved and you are amazing just as you are, then that's what I want to be able to do.
Yeah, 100%. The first steps as Miss Universe, and it's to share your platform and to plan it out like this. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yes, I have a plan already. She's
got a plan. She knows what she wants to do.
I have a calendar. I'm actually also already trying to learn some of the, culture.
Yeah.
For Thailand, because that is where Miss Universe will be.
Yeah, 100. I love that. Okay, all right. And we always love to ask the girls this question as well, because every pageant journey is different, right? Mm-hmm. So what would you say to those who want to join pageants? What's your kind of singular advice that you would give them, for those just starting off?
Okay, this is something that's really been on my heart. And when you go into competing, I want for them to know that they're not, first of all, I said it wrong. You're not competing. You're creating. Mm-hmm. Creating is more about connection, making those connections, as opposed to competing is you're comparing yourself to those who are around you. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, this thought came into my mind so much the other day. I just started journaling, and I was like, we're not competing. We're not, we're delegates. We're all going for this crown, but we're going for the connections that it's giving us, for the connections to the universe, connections to, people out there in the universe that need to see themselves in us.
Yeah.
And so I feel like anyone that I'm telling that's going to compete is, don't go in as, you're not going to go in competing. You're going to go in, you're going to create connections. You're going to build relationships. You're going to network. Mm-hmm. And you're going to grow through that. So don't put just your eyes on the prize, that's it, that if I don't win that, then you're going to be complaining and you're going to be upset about it. No, that's not what it's about.
It's the journey, right? I mean,
the climb.
It's the climb. But through the end of it all, right? There is one Miss Universe, right? And so this mentality that I have to be the only one, when this kind of journey that you're talking about, it opens so many other pathways.
Exactly.
And so if you are destined to be Miss Universe, the one and only that year, that's fantastic, right? But I think you kind of sharing that, it's not just about that, right? You go through this process with so many other contestants, and from what I'm hearing from your experience, it's been a very transformative process. It's been a process of creating who you are.
Right.
And seeing that as kind of this mode that you need to go in as a contestant is really kind of, I think for a lot of people who want to compete, it really kind of shifts the mindset, right? That you're here to create, you're here to build, as much as you're here to compete, but this whole process is this kind of inner development that you're doing.
Right.
So very cool to hear. So before we end this interview, I want you to speak directly to our audience. You can share your social media, you can share, who you are, or you can say something that, just kind of reaches out to the audience. Anything that you want to share, we want to provide this time for you. So please.
Okay. So I just want to say that be who you are. Your superpower is your story. So just live your life and tell your own story. Don't hide it. Don't think that it's not that nobody cares about it, because it's going to help someone. So always share your story. And you can find me on social media on, it's the road to the number 2. The road to Miss Universe on Instagram, and on TikTok it is LGBTQ Pride Pals, which is something I forgot to talk about.
That's okay. We'll share.
But Pride Pals is a support group for those that actually are in the LGBTQ plus community, and it's a place where we want to provide safe spaces and be able to come out of the closet together and provide support for one another. So you can find me on TikTok for that. It's under LGBTQ Pride Pals. Wait, what is it?
No worries. We'll share everything. To our viewers, we'll share everything on our page.
I hope it doesn't come out like that.
That's okay. To our viewers, we'll share everything. So I want to say thank you again to Shannon Cline, our reigning Miss Fullerton USA. It has been such a pleasure to speak with you and to learn about you. This is a great interview. I've loved getting to know you and your kind of, your journey from childhood all the way to kind of your womanhood, your adulthood, and beyond. So thank you again for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
For having me.
Of course. It was such a pleasure. So thank you again to our Contest Sarah pageant viewers. We live for this. And please continue to support our channel. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications so that we can continue to bring content like this to pageant lovers across the world. With all my love, we hope to see you again. Thank you. The will to help others. So
That name, it was passed down from my mom. My
that
mom got
I was
that.
able to just blossom and become the woman that I am right now.